Welcome to the Ohio State University Instructional Kitchen. We're in today for great information and knife skills. Shall we begin? First, we're going to use an onion and show you how to dice and slice an onion the easiest, safest possible ways. What I'm doing here is I'm going to cut what I call the butt of the onions and the head of the onions. Basically cutting that one, putting my palm of my hands into the cutting boards, holding the onions firmly. On my knives, what I do is I have 3 fingers underneath the handle of the knife, my thumb on the other side of the blade, and my finger, my index, lightly wrapped around the edge of the base of the blade. Like this, I have a firm grip on my knife and safe. The knife will not turn or rotate as I'm cutting things. Back to my position, I am straight forward in front of the onion, cutting the butt of the onion, turning it around 360, and then cutting the head of the onion. Then I will set up the onions on its side, start from the base of the onions, doing a little bit of an incision, and then wrapping it all the way around to make a cut, a clear cut. That cut I will be using when I'm going to slice and dice. That will be my guideline. I will take the couple first layer of the onions. Now let it be known that if an onion is a little darker like this is not good. This is not something you want to have in your food. So you want a nice, beautiful white onion that's pristine. The other thing that I want to stress out is that you should always keep your cutting board clean and organized. Too much stuff on your cutting board has a tendency to change the process. So I'm going to use the slice of the onions naturally right here and cut the onion in half. Lay that part on, lay the other one on. The other thing too is that don't try to imitate or emulate those chefs on TV. They are fast and furious, but remember, they've been doing it for a long time. On a slicing, the easiest side, your fajita cut, as we call it, same thing, palm of my hand on the cutting board, holding up the onions with my fingers, knife the same position, and I'm going to slice it. It's that simple. As I'm slicing it, I'm regressing my fingers towards the end of the onions, like this. And I'm not going to go fast so I don't entice you to do so. When the onion becomes too small to hold, all I have to do is, look at this, it's going to be quick, is fold it over to a flatter and bigger surface. And then I can gently now slice the rest of the onion. Does that make sense? Now, on the dicing, same principle except that I'm going to leave the butt of the onions and try not to cut that. I'm going to draw imaginary line about 1/4 of an inch on the back of the onions. I'm going to follow the natural line that the onion is giving me. Nature is wonderful, right? And this is going to be my guideline for the slicing. So again, the butt of the onion is on the back. I have an imaginary line of 1/4 of an inch, and I'm going to slice without passing that line. You see that? How I'm doing this? And obviously, the thicker, the bigger the dice. And the thinner, the thinner the dice. Once I have that in front of me, I'm going to give it a 1/4 turn, and then I'm going to dice the onion. With the butt of the onions, just like so, and this is discarded. So a nice beautiful dice, a nice beautiful slice. Again, don't try to mix up the speed. On to the pepper. Same principle, butt and head. Cutting the little bit of the head, a little bit of the butt, lifting up my pepper in the air. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an incision just like I did basically with the onions. Then I'm going to set the pepper to its side, introduce my blade into the pepper, rotate flat, and you notice that I'm off the cutting board here, so my knife is plain and flat on the cutting board, and I'm going to basically rotate and slice as I'm going. And I hold the center of the pepper. It's the simplest way to do it. All this in my hands. I shake the excess of seeds, and now if I want to refine my cuts, a little bit of vein here left on, I'm going to remove that up. I'm going to remove that up, and I'm going to remove that. What a wonderful canvas I have right now to do this. It's incredible. I can do almost whatever I want on this. So we're going to start with number 1, the slice of fajitas. Same principle as the onions. keeping the point of my knife on the cutting board, and I'm basically slicing this for my fajita, half of the pepper, right there. Dicing, I can choose the size I want by the width of my cuts. So I'm going to go dicing like that. I would say about half of an inch, giving a quarter turn again, and then making the same cut, quarter inch, and I have a perfect quarter inch dice. Just like so. This makes a lot of sense. Let's go on with the carrots. The carrot is a little bit particular because it's a little harder to cut, and we'll go on with showing you how to do this with the potatoes, which is a lot easier because it's softer, it's bigger, and it's easier to cut. So with the carrots, we use a potato peeler. This is my favorite potato peeler. I use that as a stocking for Christmas because they're so inexpensive but they're so efficient. Very ergonometric. Put your two fingers right here, and then you hold it gently like that with the blade showing, of course, on the outside. Gently bring it over to the carrots and rotate the carrots as you peel it. Another way to do this is to basically reverse the position, hold the carrots on its side, and rotate the carrots on itself. And you can do the same thing like this. Either way is fine. Whatever you feel the most comfortable with. We're going to remove the peeling of the cutting board. Same thing, same principle. I'm going to cut the head, and I'm going to cut the butt. I'm going to cut that in half. Now, what I was saying about being hard is because it rolls. So what I do right away is I take a plant and I flat it down. I'm making a very, very thin cut. And now my next cut is, depending on the thickness of my cuts, next is to cut about 1/8 of an inch slices on the carrots. Now, this is also a very nice canvas. I can do now whatever I want. If I want to do bâtonnet or julienne, depending on the sizes, I can basically do that. This is something that you would see perhaps maybe a little thicker in a pot roast, such of that. And then giving it a quarter turn, you see how I did this? Now I can basically go back and use that technique, lifting the back of the knife, leaving the point of the knife on a cutting board for a wonderful little dice. Now if I want to be diced bigger, and you will see that perhaps in soups, things of that nature, then I will do a little bit bigger. I can basically choose what I want to do. What makes the difference is the first slice that I make on the carrots, as you could see that. On the other side here, I have also the thinner part of the carrots. I can do a couple things with this. I can do what is called the Asian side cut, which is wonderful. Cut that in half and do stir-fry cuts. Again, don't try to go as fast as I do. So you have the Asian cut for stir-fry, and that's called the side sliced carrots. All these easily done. Again, practice makes perfect, do not forget. We have some time, so I want to show you how to cut a potato the same way we did the carrots. A lot easier to do, and it's a lot less expensive. You can always use the potato for breakfast and then cook them up or whatever in a stew or the soup. And as everything else, when you peel something, you don't want to have any outside skin left on. You could also use, of course, the potatoes with the skin on, but for this practice here, we're going to use the potato peeled properly. And I'm going to repeat what I just showed you for the carrots, and that is that for this, potato roll stills, so I'm going to cut a very, very thin part, and you can see that it's a lot easier to slide through. Remember, keep your knife sharp. Now the potato is very, very stable. I can do whatever I want. So I'm going to do a very thin slice, okay? And then I'm going to do a bigger slice. And I could do the same thing I did with the carrots or the onion, sided sideways, and use that. For the purpose of this video, what we're going to show you is the various cuts used here. So the same thing will apply. This is a nice little julienne, thin slices, thinner than that one. This one will be diced. And this one will obviously be your French fries. You've seen them. And if you take that same cut, like this, turn it around, quarter turn, you have your fine dice. I hope this makes sense. I hope this helps you. And to finish up, I want to go over garlic. This is very quick and easy. I'm going to move some of that stuff away here. Looks beautiful, doesn't it? Looks like a painter's palette. For the garlic, a very simple way. Number one, garlic is filled with water, which forces the skins out, but it doesn't remove that little black head here, which is the butt of the clove. And this is what you need to remove. This is very, very inconvenient in food, especially if you chew on one of those. Very hard. It gets in your teeth and it's not very good. So what I do is I slice them and I remove them. Right away I want to move them out of my cutting board. I don't want them to be incorporated into this mix. And notice how this may be here's how I do it. Place the clove of garlic underneath the blade of your knife and make sure that you are off the cutting board. Let me repeat that. Hold your knife flat, stay off the cutting board so that you are planted and flat. So when you do bang that blade, you are flat on the cutting board. There's no space in between. If you were off the cutting board, you can see that I would have a problem here. I could bang that blade as much as I can. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't accomplish anything. So I bring that clove to the side, put my blade on top of it, flat, and then basically bang it. You can think about somebody or something that's bothering you. That's a good therapy thing that I use. Once that clove is there, you can see that it's pretty much mushed. And what I do is chop it up a little bit, depending on what you're doing, obviously, either coarser or thinner. But basically, that's how I do my garlic. And finishing up with a bang. Thank you.